Hello everybody, welcome to this show. Today we have a special presentation with Mr. Dror CEO of Redhill Biopharma. If you take a look at this company, technically speaking, I will be a buyer on Redhill Biopharma if the stock can break its resistance at 15 bucks, but I'll let Mr. Benasher talk to us more about why his company should represent your next investment. So Mr. Benasher, thank you for coming by.
Thanks for having me.
Excellent. So let's talk first of all about this drug that you have, RHB 106. There's an NDA filing with Salix Pharmaceuticals. Can you tell us more about the implication that this deal you have with Salix will have on your company in terms of revenues, of growth?
Yes, it's a very good starting point because Salix, our pharma partner, is a kind of partner that is a high flyer in the US. It's a #1 player in the gastrointestinal drugs space, multi-billion-dollar company. We have sold them the worldwide rights to one of our drugs, RHB 106, for $7 million up front at signing that we received in February. We'll also be receiving $5 million more in the coming 2-3 years. And of course, the most important part is the royalties. We do not need to invest anymore in this drug. And Salix is projecting nearly $300 million in sales, peak sales of this drug.
Okay. So can you detail us a little bit more what's your business model? Is it mostly like to bring some drugs into phase 3 and beyond that, and after sell them to those big type of companies?
Yes, our model is unique in that respect. We have numerous late-stage programs that's somewhat unusual, including phase 3 drugs, and also, as you briefly mentioned before, even a new drug application filed. We're about to file additional marketing authorization applications in Europe. So we have both the US and Europe. And the model is unique in that our starting point is already a late stage development because we acquire the programs at a very late stage throughout the world, be it in Canada, Australia, or the US.
Okay. You mentioned there's a lot of products in your pipeline. A lot of them are later stage. For instance, RHB 102 is one of the latest that you recently initiated a phase 3 on it. Can you tell us, with all the products that you have in your pipeline, which ones will be targeted for the US market and the European market?
Yes, our focus, our therapeutic focus is on gastrointestinal and inflammatory drugs, and that includes gastrointestinal cancers such as pancreatic cancer and colon cancer. So those are very strong unmet need everywhere, be it in North America or Europe. We are currently running in parallel 3 phase 3 studies, late clinical studies in the US, in the United States, and also in Canada with gastrointestinal drugs for Crohn's disease, for a bacteria called H. pylori, which is the #1 cause of gastric cancer. And you asked about RHB 102 for gastroenteritis as well. We will be looking both at North America and European filings. As soon as those studies are completed successfully, we will continue to engage with FDA, Health Canada, and the Europeans. Okay.
So why have you, because your drugs are mostly targeted for gastroenteritis, is it the choice that you chose to just focus on that particular disease, or?
Yes, so gastrointestinal diseases exhibit very strong unmet medical need. Those are diseases where the treatment options are minimal, and they typically involve a lot of inflammation in the gastrointestinal tract, and also often cancer, and all these things are related. So what you see happening in the financial market is a reflection of that. Companies that are focused on this space, such as Salix Pharmaceutical that you mentioned earlier, but others as well, even companies like Santaros that was recently acquired, or Forest. Those are companies that have done extremely well in the financial market because of their focus on strong unmet medical need.
Okay. Now, in terms of revenue generation, like what drugs do you think is going to be your cash cow?
Right. So we have started to generate revenues this year with the sale of the worldwide rights to RHB 106 to Salix. RHB 106 is a bowel preparation ahead of colonoscopy, and it's a capsule that's taken with water. It's a big advantage. Okay. We will continue to out-license when it makes sense to do similar transactions, but we are confident about the prospects of our drugs, and the more we advance the value will grow. So we'll be opportunistic about that.
Okay. Now, in terms of development, because you have a lot of drugs that are in your pipeline, so are you looking to actually, because when you have a company like yours, there's a lot of money that you're burning when you have to go to the FDA process to get them approved. So are you looking to actually have partners to come in to actually help you guys to push the ones that are in phase 1, to push them into phase 3 to be able to generate more revenues, or are you looking to build it yourself and then find a partner after once they're in the later stage?
It's a very good question, because what you see is the vast majority of biotech companies failing, and of those that succeed, basically there's those that constantly out-license to bigger pharma partners and are not going into marketing and sales themselves, and those that are doing it. And the biggest success stories are those that are both successful and are doing it to some extent by themselves. The best example is probably Gilead, that sort of came from nowhere and now is 150, 140 billion probably. I didn't look recently. And there's Celgene, and there's many such examples. So our approach is we out-license, just like we did with Salix, but we will also be looking eventually for some vertical integration into marketing and sales carefully. We'll do it very carefully. Our balance sheet is strong, has always been strong. In the end of the quarter, Q2, we had $34 million in the bank. We are burning very little. We have a very efficient operation, and we intend to keep it that way.
Okay. And talking of your balance sheet, so how do you intend to allocate your money with this $34 million that you have in your balance sheet right now? Or how much will be dedicated to R&D and to other
I'm glad you brought it up, because unlike the vast majority of small biotech companies, we have the resources right now to bring several of our products all the way to the market. And that's an unusual and a very comfortable situation to be in. Yes.
Okay. So what explains, how can you how is your cost structure makes you so burn less cash, as you said? What makes you so efficient in managing cash?
It's a combination of several things. First, we acquire the drugs at a very late stage, meaning that many millions, hundreds of millions actually, and many, many years, in some of them 20 years, have been invested.
Okay.
So that's our starting point is very comfortable. Secondly, we only take on drugs that we think we can finance all the way to the market, or almost all the way to the market. Our operation is built as such that we have only 20 people, 20 employees, half of them in North America and half in Tel Aviv. We do everything through outsourcing, so we don't own manufacturing plants. We don't own labs. We don't have all those fixed costs. That allows us to be very flexible in turning on and off the costs associated with the drugs. And we have an association, very strong ties with Canada and Quebec as a whole, and which we find very efficient cost-wise, because developing in the US tends to be more expensive. Developing in Canada is as good. We are manufacturing here. We are using laboratories here in Quebec. We have people here. We have numerous investors here. We have very strong ties to Canada. And I have to say, as far as R&D is concerned, research and development, that reduces costs.
Okay. Now, in terms of potential revenues, because I was reading in your website that to be able to put an estimate on potential revenues, it was a little bit hard for you to do so. So how do you intend to actually, knowing that Salix, you just sell the licenses to Salix, how do you intend to actually making sure that for the next year that you're going to be able to actually put a number in terms of potential revenues that you're going to be able to generate?
The 3 phase 3 studies that we are currently conducting in the United States and also in Canada include 2 potential blockbusters with potential sales in the billions, and 1 product that's just under $1 billion.
Okay.
So those are drugs that are addressing very large market with very strong need. Our strategy is to bring them as close as possible to the market, potentially all the way to the market. And the revenues we are counting on, the big revenues we are counting on, are once those products hit the market. It doesn't mean that in the next year or 2 we are not going to see additional licensing revenues. We probably will. We are working on that. But the big numbers will come when we get approved and hit the market.
Now, despite from Salix, do you have any major partners, or are you looking to actually develop relationships with potential partners in the field?
We are talking to numerous mid-size and big pharma companies, as well as small companies for territorial deals for all of our products.
Okay. So, with so many products, it's important to protect your innovations. So, and patent protection is really important. So, knowing that you want to target U.S. market, which is sometimes expensive to bring a drug into phase 3, European markets, Canadian market as well. So what's your strategy to make sure that you protect your inventions and that you don't burn too much cash during the process?
So we are doing two things. When we acquire the product in the first place, we obviously do a very deep so-called due diligence. We check the patents that are already existing or are pending, that are in the process. That's only one thing. But as soon as we acquire the program, the products, we put very significant resources. A significant percentage of our resources goes towards additional patents. So we sit on hundreds of patents and constantly filing more for all our products.
Okay, so if I understand right, all your products you already have a patent on all your products, right?
Yes.
Excellent. So now you have operations in Israel, you have employees in Israel, also some employees in the US. We know the tensions that are going on in the Middle East. Has this had an impact on your business with the fragile ceasefire between Israel and Gaza?
No impact whatsoever.
No impact whatsoever. Okay, excellent. So, what's your strategy now? Looking now for the next 5 years, what's your vision for Redhill Biopharma? What do you see it becoming? Do you see it becoming a potential company that will be acquired by a Gilead or another company, or do you see yourself being a company that acquires drugs at a later stage and continue to have licensing agreement with companies like Salix, for instance?
The way we built the company from day one, we started in 2009, was as a standalone company to build a real business. The company is geared towards developing by itself, going it alone, here and there doing licensing deals, but is aiming to become a large and successful company as quickly as possible. But doing it in a way that entails multiple shots on goal, phase 3 studies that run in parallel and want to hit as many of them as possible. That's one thing. Doing it in a way in which the risk profile of the company is such that the risk has been largely mitigated through the number of the drugs, the late stage, the licensing deals, the strong balance sheet. So on the one hand, we are building the company to have the excitement and the feel-good factor and the exotic nature of biotech that investors love. On the other hand, we make sure that the risk profile of the company remains attractive and it's far from being all or nothing.
Excellent. Now, we only have 30 seconds left for this interview, Mr. Ben-Asher, but for viewers looking at this company who's not yet convinced about your company, what will be 2 reasons why you should convince and why Redhill Biopharma should represent his next investment? 2 reasons why.
Yes, I cannot comment, of course, on the investment opportunity and so on, and also we are not raising any financing and so on. However, I will say this. We went public on NASDAQ in December 2012, so roughly a year and a half ago, a little bit more. And we have not raised any public financing on NASDAQ until now, or ever. This means that the market is not very much aware of us, of our existence, our name, and our story. That's why we are here, that's why we see people, that's why we meet people like yourself, spread the word, tell the story, and make sure people start to take a serious look. It's early days, but we already see an increased awareness of the company, its story, and its potential.
Excellent. So we definitely look forward to hearing back from you, Mr. Ben-Asher, and if ever you come by Montreal again, never hesitate to come by our studios.
Thanks, Chris.
Thanks a lot.